Hello everyone. After a long gap, I'm back with three very short stories, but they are very witty. And of course, they are written by the none other than Sudha Murthy. So let's get started. The first story's name is A Question of Maths. Srimukha was a clever but poor farmer. One day, he learned that the king was passing through his village and would be stopping there for a night. He decided to give the king a gift and perhaps earn a small reward. He took his best cock to the king and presented it to him. The king was very pleased to get such a fine bird. Then he saw the intelligent look on Sri Mukha's face and decided to test him. He said, "In my family, I have a wife, two sons, and two daughters, and you are my guest today. Tell me, how can I divide this one cock among 7 people?" Srimukha thought for a while and said, "It is easy. You are the head of the family, so you should get the head. Your wife will get the cocks back, as she is the backbone of the family. Your daughters will one day get married and go away, so they should get the two wings. And your sons will follow the path you show them, so they should get the legs. And what about you?" the king asked. "I'm the guest, so I should get whatever is left over." The king was pleased by this clever answer and presented Srimukha with gold coin. Now Srimukha had a foolish neighbor, Sripati, who became very jealous when he heard about the reward. He decided to present the king with 5 cocks and earn 5 pieces of gold. When he appeared before the king with the 5 cocks, the king asked him the same question. "How can 5 cocks be divided between 7 people?" Sripati was dumbstruck. Who knew the king would ask such a difficult question? As he stood trying to calculate, the king sent for Srimukha. The farmer heard the question and quickly worked out the answer. "We will divide everyone into groups of 3, he said. "Your Majesty and the Queen and one cock will be one group. So the king and queen will get one cock. The two princesses and one cock will be another group. The two princesses and one cock will form the third group. I will form the last group with the remaining 2 cocks. So I will get 2 cocks." The king smiled delightedly at this answer. He presented Srimukha with some more gold coins and turned to Sripati, who stood there open mouthed, still counting on his fingers. "The coins are rewards for Srimukha's intelligence, not the cocks," he explained gently. The next story is The Clever Brothers. Once upon a time, there were 3 brothers. They were all very clever and one day decided to make their fortune using their powers of reasoning and logic. As they walked to the nearest big city to look for work, they saw some footprints on the dirt road. As they stood looking at the marks, a merchant came rushing up to them. "Did you see anything go by on this road?" he asked in a panic. The first brother looked closely at the prints and said, "Yes, a large camel." The second said it was a one-eyed camel. The third said, who had been looking further down the road, said it was carrying a woman and a child on its back. Now the merchant was furious and shouted, "You have kidnapped my wife and child. Come with me to the king's." The 3 brothers could not get him to see reason, and the 4 men ended up in the king's court. The king said, after he heard the entire story. "If you 3 claim to be so clever, let me set a task for you. I will place before you a wooden box which will be locked. You will have to tell me what it contains without looking inside." The 3 brothers agreed, and soon the king's men placed before them a stout wooden box, firmly shut. The first brother said immediately, "It has something round inside." The second said, "It is a pomegranate." "An unripe pomegranate," added the third. The box was open, and indeed, inside was an unripe pomegranate. The king now asked them for an explanation. The first man said, "When your servant was bringing the box, I heard something rolling inside. That meant There was a round object in it. The second man said, I saw your servant coming from the pomegranate orchard, so I knew he had placed a pomegranate in the box. And this is not the season for pomegranates, so it had to be an unripe one, piped the other brother. The king now had proof of the brothers' powers of observation and asked them how they knew about the merchant's wife and child being on camel's back. The footprints we saw were large ones, so I deduced it was a big camel and that had gone that way, said the first brother. The camel had grazed only on one side of the road, said the second, so I knew it has one eye. And I saw the footprints of a woman and a child where the camel had sat down to rest, said the third, which meant they were on the camel's back. The king, now convinced of their cleverness, appointed the three brothers as ministers in this court. A minister's test. Long ago, there was a king who ruled his kingdom with great wisdom. He made sure each person got a good education, and as a result, the people of the kingdom too were clever and wise. The king of one of the neighboring kingdoms once decided he would appoint one of these intelligent people as his chief minister. So he set to test to see who was the wisest. He sent his messenger to the neighboring king's court with a strange message. I want a person who can bring me fresh vegetables grown in the soil of your kingdom. He should also bring with him a pot full of intelligence. Now, to get to the neighboring kingdom, it was a good 2 months' chariot ride. So, even if someone started off with fresh vegetables, they would be rotten by the time he reached there. Even the wise king was perplexed. One young man from his court, however, knew the solution. He asked the king to give him a cart full of soil, manure, and lots of vegetable seed and saplings. He sowed these in the soil and set off with a cart tied to the rear of his chariot. He also planted a pumpkin plant, and when the vegetable appeared, tied a pot over it. So when the pumpkin grew, it would fill the entire pot. By the time he reached his destination, he had a good crop of vegetables grown in the soil of his kingdom and freshly plucked. The pumpkin too had grown and now filled the entire pot. He took a big basket of vegetables and the pumpkin in the pot and appeared before the king. The king was delighted to see the vegetables but puzzled by the pot. What did it mean? I have got intelligence in this pot, said the young man. Now you have to see how you can extract it without breaking the pot. The king was pleased. This was a very clever answer to his strange message. But he wanted to test the man some more, so he set before him 3 wooden dolls, all identical. He said, These 3 are identical, but one is better than the others. Which one would be that? The young man asked for a piece of wire. Then he inserted it through the ears of one doll. The wire appeared from the other ear. Next, he inserted it through the ears of the second doll. The wire came out of the doll's mouth. But when he inserted the wire from the ear of the third doll, it remained stuck inside. He held up the last doll and said, This is the best. In a court, if you told a secret to the first doll, it would not understand its importance and would take out from one ear what it heard from the other. The second type of doll will hear you, but immediately talk about it to others. The third kind will keep the secret safe in its head. The king was even more pleased, but he wanted to set a final test. Here are 3 rings with green, red, and blue stones respectively. Let us assume they are magical stones. The red ring will give the person wearing it good ideas. The green ring will help the person carry out these ideas in normal circumstances. The blue one will help the person carry out the idea in any circumstance. In a court, who should wear which ring? The young man thought for a while and said, The king should wear the red ring as he needs to get good ideas. The chief minister should wear the green one as he needs to carry out these ideas in times of peace. The commander of the army should wear the blue ring as he needs to carry out the ideas in difficult times. The king now knew he had before him a very brilliant young man. He was made the chief minister and served the king for many years.